everybody, and welcome back to Jeff Danger Radio. I'm your host, Jeff Danger. I wanted to do a quick update on the Seth Rich case, the Seth Rich murder investigation. A bombshell Twitter release from Wikileaks just occurred about 30 minutes ago, and I wanted to just give some comments on it. Because it does seem very important to me for the investigation. A fellow named Seymour Hersh was recorded, and we don't know if he consented to that recording. And Wikileaks doesn't always care if somebody consents to their recording. They just kind of drop the bombs of information. Just a background on who Seymour Hersh is. He's an older gentleman, a investigative journalist, and a political writer based in D.C., which is where Seth Rich was murdered. And he exposed the My Lai massacre, which was a terrible atrocity committed by American troops in the Vietnam War, and its cover up, and he won a Pulitzer Prize. And if you heard my last podcast, and if you've been following the Seth Rich case, you'll know that Julian Assange alluded that Seth Rich was a WikiLeaks source. He did not confirm it because he says he does not confirm sources, and it sounded like a kind of a wishy-washy thing. If you, I can actually play it again real quick. One sec.
Trump has had a disastrous few weeks. If you look at the polls, he needs a miracle. In the American political lexicon, there's such a thing as the October surprise. The stuff that you're sitting on, is an October surprise in there? Do you even know what you're sitting on?
WikiLeaks never sits on material. Whistleblowers go to significant efforts to get us material, and often very significant risks. As a 27-year-old works for the DNC, who was shot in the back, murdered just 2 weeks ago for unknown reasons as he was walking down the street in Washington. So
that was just a robbery, I believe, wasn't it?
No, there's no finding. So
what are you suggesting? What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that our sources take risks, and they become concerned to see things occurring like that.
But was he one of your sources then? I mean,
we don't comment on who our sources are.
But why make the suggestion about a young guy being shot in the streets of Washington?
Because we have to understand how high the stakes are in the United States, and that our sources are. Our sources face serious risks. That's why they come to us, so we can protect their anonymity.
But it's quite something to suggest a murder. That's basically what you're doing.
Well, that others have suggested that. We are investigating to understand what happened in that situation with Seth Rich. I think it is a concerning situation. There's not a conclusion yet. We wouldn't be willing to state a conclusion, but we are concerned about it. And more importantly, a variety of WikiLeaks sources are concerned when that kind of thing happens.
So that was Julian Assange many months ago. I don't remember the exact date. I think it was even about a year ago in August, almost a year ago today. And just to recap, Seth Rich was murdered in July 9th, I believe, and the WikiLeaks data dump occurred. The DNC data dump occurred on July 22nd. So there's Seymour Hersh, which is he's a respected and an elderly investigative journalist. He's clearly not on record in the WikiLeaks audio tape. He sounds, to me, he sounds a little nervous that he has information, and he's saying he has information that the FBI report which was an FBI report by their basically their computer group, the people responsible for breaking into the computers of seized computers. So I'll just go ahead and roll the clip for you. It's Seymour Hersh, and this was just tweeted out by Wikileaks.
About the kid, I'll tell you what I know. What I know comes off an FBI report. Don't ask me how you can figure out. I've been around long enough. The kid gets, I don't think he was murdered. I don't think he was murdered because of what he knew. The kid's a nice boy, 27. He was not an IT expert, but he learned stuff. He was a data programmer, but he learned stuff. And so he's living on one street, he's living in a very rough neighborhood. And in the exact area where he'd been, there's been about 10, I'm sure you know all this, there's been about 8 or 9 or 10 violent robberies. Most of them with somebody brandishing a gun. And the kid's hands, I'm telling you, I'm sure you know it, his hands were marked up. The cops concluded he fought off the people, tried to run, and they shot him twice in the back with a .22 small caliber. And then the kids that did it ran. They got scared, didn't take his role. And okay, so what the cops do then, and here's what nobody knows, what I'm telling you. Now, maybe you know something about it. When you have a death like that, DC cops, if you're dead, you generally don't just go, you have to find out what's going on. You have to get to the kid's apartment and see what you can find. If he's dead, you don't need a warrant, but most cops get a warrant because they don't know if the guy has a roommate. You need a warrant, so they get a warrant. I'm just telling you, there is such a thing. They go in the house and they can't do much with his computer, his password. The cops don't know much about it. So the DC cops, they have a cyber unit in DC, and they're more sophisticated. They come and look at it. The idea is maybe he's had a series of exchanges with somebody who says, I'm going to kill you, motherfucker, or a girl, and they can't get in. The cyber guys do a little better, but they can't make sense of it. So they call the FBI cyber unit. The DC unit, the Washington field office, is a hot shit unit. The guy running the Washington field office, he's like a 3-star at an army base. He's already looking for 4. You know what I mean? He's going to go into a top job. There's a cyber unit there that's excellent. What you get in a warrant, the public information you get in a warrant doesn't include, it does not include the affidavit underlying why you're going in, what the reasons are. That's almost never available on. I can tell you that. The existence of a warrant is a public document 99% of the time. So, on the same warrant, they call in the Fed. The Feds get through, and here's what they find. This is according to the FBI report. What they find is he makes contact. First of all, you have to know some basic facts. One of the basic facts is there's no DNC or Podesta email that exists beyond May 21st, 22nd. The last email for either one of those groups. And so what the report says is sometime in late spring, we're talking about June, summer's in June 21st. Late spring would be after, I presume, I don't know, I just say it says late spring, early summer. He makes contact with Wikileaks. That's in his computer, and he makes contact. Now, I have to be careful because I met Julian and Julian 10, 12 years. I stay the fuck away from people like that. He said, invited me, and when I'm in London, I always get a message, come see me as the Ecuadorian ambassador, and there's no fucking way I'm going there. I got enough trouble without getting photographed. Every fucking day. He's under total surveillance by everybody. But anyway, they found what he had done. He had submitted a series of documents, of emails, some juicy emails from the DNC. And, by the way, all this shit about the DNC, whether hacked or wasn't hacked, but whatever happened, the Democrats themselves wrote this shit. You know what I mean? All I know is that he offered a sample, an extensive sample, I'm sure dozens of emails, and said, I want money. That later, WikiLeaks did get the password. He had a Dropbox, a protected Dropbox, which isn't hard to do. I mean, you don't have to be a wizard, IT wizard. He was certainly, he's not a dumb kid. They got access to the Dropbox. He also, this is also in the FBI report, he also let people know with whom he was dealing. And I don't know how he dealt. I'll tell you about WikiLeaks in a second. I don't know how he dealt with the WikiLeaks and the mechanism, but he also, the word was passed according to the FBI report. I also shared this box with a couple of friends. So if anything happens to me, it's not going to solve your problem. Okay? I don't know what that means. I don't know whether he was, anyway. But WikiLeaks got access, and before he was killed, I can tell you right now, Brennan's an asshole. I've known all these people for years. Clapper's sort of a better guy, but now rocket scientist. The NSA guy's a fucking moron. And the trouble with all those guys is that the only way they're going to make it to a board or two and get, hired by SAIC to deliver some fat cat contracts is if Hillary stayed in. With Trump, they're gone. They're done. They're going to live on their pension. They're not going to make it. And I got to tell you, guys in that job, they don't want to live on their pension. They want to be on boards like they're make $600,000 for going to 4 visits. I have somebody on the inside. I've been around a long time and I read a lot of stuff. I have somebody inside who will go and read a file for me. This person is unbelievably accurate and careful. He's a very high-level guy. He'll do a favor. You're just going to have to trust me. I have what they call in my business long-form journalism. I have a narrative of how that whole fucking thing began. It's a Brennan operation. It was an American disinformation, and the fucking president, at one point when they even started telling the press, they were back briefing the press. The head of the NSA was going and telling the press, this fucking cocksucker Rogers was telling the press that we even know who in the GRU, the Russian military intelligence service, leaked it. I mean, all bullshit. They were telling these. I worked at the New York Times for fucking years, and the trouble with the fucking New York Times is they have smart guys, but they're totally beholden on sources. If the president or the head of the CIA tells them something, they actually believe it. I was hired at the Times to write about it, to go after the war, in the Vietnam War in '72, because they were just locked in. So that's what the Times is. These guys run the fucking Times. And Trump's not wrong. I mean, I wish he would calm down and had a better press secretary. You have to be so. Trump's not wrong to think they all fucking lied about him. I can tell you right now.
Okay, so a few takeaways from that video. Basically, Seymour Hersh has some kind of a history with Julian Assange. He's a source, so they know each other. Hersh is alleging that Seth Rich had emails, and he was going to give them to WikiLeaks, and that he was requesting financial remuneration for them, and he let some other people know about it, and that there's a concerted effort by elites and establishment types and spy types, not GIs, the spies in the CIA to allow Hillary to get into power, and that's not what happened. And I'm just connecting dots here, and the way Wasserman Schultz is acting around around her laptop and everything, perhaps there's some information that corroborates this on her laptop. I'm not sure, but Seymour Hersh is saying that there's a file, an FBI file, that indicates that Seth Rich was the leaker to WikiLeaks. Seems like WikiLeaks may not have wanted to pay Seth Rich and just got the password, and the rest is history. So I just wanted to give you hopefully a brief enough update. Thanks a lot for listening to Jeff Danger Radio, and I'll see you next time.